Hola y buenos días. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started with palabras de interrogación, question words, part 3. We've been working on quién and quiénes and con quién, a dónde, and de dónde. Now we're going to look at some new question words today. So let's go ahead and get started. The first word you've seen is que, and it means what. And then there's a qué hora, which would be at what time or when is it that you're going to go, especially if you're looking for an answer that has to do with a particular time period. And then cuál is probably the most difficult question word of all. It means which or what. And so we'll go ahead and look at each of these words and see some example questions of how they're used. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about knowing when to use certain words. So let's go ahead and get started. You've seen a lot of ¿qué questions just in your time going through Spanish 1. And so, ¿qué necesitas para tu clase de español is not a foreign question to you. What do you need for your Spanish class? Or, for example, ¿qué llevas en octubre en Danville? What do you wear in October in Danville? If you're asking about time, you might say, ¿a qué hora vas al cine? At what time are you going to the movies? Or, for example, ¿a qué hora tienes la clase de arte? When do you have art class? Or at what time do you have art class? So, ¿a qué hora, again, is asking for time. Que is asking for an object or something that you need in order to fulfill the action. Then, ¿cuál? ¿Cuál is probably the most difficult Spanish question word of all? It often gets translated as which or what, but I will tell you a secret to the word ¿cuál is looking for words like favorito and favorita because they give you a clue as to that it's asking out of all the possible colors here, which one is your favorite? So, which is your favorite color? ¿Cuál? Instead of it being what is your favorite color, which is your favorite color? ¿Cuál? So favorito is kind of the key there, but then there are some question words that you have seen before that show up, and they involve the word cuál, and to this day I still struggle with why it's cuál and not que, but it's cuál es tu número de teléfono, which means which out of all the possible phone numbers in the entire world is your phone number. And here's where I would just memorize this question as, okay, when I'm talking about a phone number, I'm going to use cuál and not something else. Then we've got ¿cuál es la fecha de hoy? Which of all the possible dates is today's date? Again, it's a little odd, but just memorize it. That question, when you're asking what is the date of today or tomorrow, it's going to be cuál. And again, with favorito and favorita, ¿cuál es tu clase favorita? Which of all the classes you're taking is your favorite? So again, ¿cuál deals with favorite, and then it will deal with questions like which of all the possible phone numbers is your phone number? Which of all the possible dates today is the date? So cuál is a little bit odd, and it sometimes gets translated as what. But I would just know that cuál goes with favorito or favorita, or it ends up going with words like I lost my train of thought there. Sorry about that. Words like which of these possible dates is the date? So, for example, maybe ¿cuál es la fecha de tu cumpleaños? When is the date of your birth? Or when is your birthday? But ¿cuál is a tricky one, and so practice kind of going over when that shows up and looking for those keywords like favorita and fecha and número de teléfono in your questions today. Next, there are 3 different words that are very similar to each other, and you've seen each of these in different ways. But the first one is cuánto, and cuánto means how much. We're only really going to learn the masculine form here. I'm not going to go to the feminine. It would also mean how much, but we don't really have any good examples of using cuánta as opposed to cuánto. Just know that it's going to be the masculine form, cuánto, and I'll get into that in just a minute. Cuántos would mean how many, and it's the masculine form. And then there's cuantas, which also means how many, but it's feminine. So let's go ahead and look and see how these words are used because they are the first ones we've encountered that have masculine and feminine to them. So getting started, ¿cuánto cuesta el suéter? How much does the sweater cost? We're going to use cuánto here because it's how much, and it typically is going to go with the verb cuesta. There might be other expressions with it, but just know cuesta is the dead giveaway that it should be cuánto. Another example might be ¿Cuánto cuestan las manzanas? How much do the apples cost? Notice that I use cuestan because I'm talking about more than one apple. But again, it's cuánto, regardless of the fact that las manzanas is feminine. So I'm going to use cuánto here. On we go. If we want to use cuántos, we need to be able to be talking about how many, and it needs to be masculine. So how many students, masculine, speak Spanish and English? The other thing you need to know here is oftentimes we encounter situations where we're not sure of the gender. For example, I don't know necessarily if we're going to be talking about, like, are all the students male? Are they female? Or is it a mixture of both? And so I use the masculine form, cuantos, instead of the feminine form. But I'm going to use cuantos when I'm unsure or when it's a masculine article after that question word. So, ¿cuántos estudiantes hablan español? And it typically is going to result in something that is like 25 estudiantes hablan español e inglés. By the way, if you're looking there and you're like, wait, Mr. Davis, why did you put an E with an accent mark in between español and inglés? Actually, you do that whenever you have a Y that's followed by a word that has an I at the beginning of it. So normally it'd be español y inglés, but because the Y sounds like E and the I in inglés sounds like E, you change the Y to an E with an accent mark, so e inglés, just to not get your tongue twisted up with that expression. So, ¿cuántos there? Next, ¿cuántas clases tienes este semestre? How many classes do you have this semester? And the reason that I use cuántas here is because I'm talking about the classes, and classes is feminine in Spanish. So I say, ¿cuántas clases tienes este semestre? And I might say, tengo 6 clases este semestre. The other dead giveaway to using this word is that there's typically a number for the answer. That's how people are going to go about answering that question. They're going to say, tengo 6 clases. Hay 5 personas en mi familia. Tengo 5 hermanos, whatever it is. They're going to use a number with it because you're asking for a number. Another one, ¿cuántos libros necesitas leer para la clase de inglés? How many books do you need to read for the class of English? Again, we use cuántos here. We're talking about the books. Books is masculine, so we make it cuántos libros. If we wanted to change things to feminine, ¿cuántas carpetas necesitamos para la clase de música? How many folders do we need for the class of music? And the reason that we use cuántas here is because carpetas is feminine. So those are the question words that you're going to be seeing today as you work on your Google form after watching this video. If you have any questions, by all means, email me and we'll see what we can do. Bueno, buena suerte y nos vemos.